Hello, hi, how are you? You're looking good, you look, I like what you're wearing. I'd like it if you'd wear a bit more, but you are among friends, so I'm not going to push it this time. Welcome to me playing Spelunky in my house. There's a daily challenge is happening now that I have to do because there's not much day left, and I think I have to do a Skype interview soon, so hopefully I'll just die soon. Here's some scores. I've decided not to show you myself going through menus for ages because it's boring. And again, Matthew Cox is better than 200 and most of the people. He's 286. He's better than anyone who is 287th. I can't. You can see how much he is, how much he's got, and where he is. You can see how much he is. Right. So I'm not. This isn't going to go well, and you can see the level of composure that I don't have. The real challenge for today is the topic that I've picked for myself, which is a topic that I don't know enough about. I'm going to try a bunch of different topics, and some of them will overlap, but I'll try and pick topics that don't overlap too much, or you know, not run similar topics right next to each other. The topic for today is a man called Ludwig Wittgenstein. I can't, my mouth just doesn't function, to tell you the truth today. I don't know why that is. Ludwig, it's not a hard word, Ludwig Wittgenstein, who was the philosopher who got me into philosophy, and probably a philosopher that I'm not actually very good at explaining, but because I've already done a philosophy thing, we can touch on that, but I'd also like to touch on other interesting stuff in his life, because he's a really interesting guy. Because I have to do this all off the top of my head, I can't come up with stuff, I can't look anything up, so I can't remember when he was born, but it must have been, I think, before 1910. And I think it was in Vienna. He was certainly Austrian, or it would have been Austro-Hungary then, because it would have been a big empire before it broke up after World War I. And he was from quite a wealthy family. And yeah, he was a fairly high society guy, and he was quite well off. I don't know that much about his youth, or I don't remember very much. I've got a biography that I've half read about him. But the thing that a lot of people know about Ludwig Wittgenstein is that when he was a kid and he went to school in Austria, he went to school with Adolf Hitler. And you can see class photos of them both. So I think they were either the same age or a very similar age. It's not hard to find pictures of them together. Apparently he vaguely remembered Hitler later when people would ask him about it, but he didn't remember much about him or many details about him as a person. But they were schoolmates. I don't know if they were classmates. And well, no, hang on, no, he must have been born in the 1800s, because he would have been, just like Hitler, he served in World War I, so it must have been the late 1800s, it must have been the 1890s or something like that. And serving in World War I is some of the interesting stuff that starts happening to Wittgenstein, because he, like Hitler, he joins up, but I think Hitler was a corporal and possibly delivered messages, whereas Wittgenstein ended up getting a commission, which meant he was an officer, meant he was in charge of more things, and he was more responsible. And I'm pretty sure he was an artillery officer, or an artillery observation officer, I think. What he ended up doing at some point in his life, fairly early on, I think he realised he was doing very well academically. And he felt a lot of weight of expectation upon him. And his response to this was to really push himself and challenge himself, and he did this in the war by basically volunteering for being the dude that you are in a video game, by going, right, what's really hard, what's really dangerous, I'll do that. And I think as the artillery officer, he just volunteered for forward postings where he would be in the action, and he would be very close to the enemy and see lots of stuff going on, and be under fire a lot. And I think he was trialing himself, maybe, or he was trying to live up to his own expectations. And you see, I don't fully understand, but I think he was trying to do that, and he was also trying to have an exciting life to some degree. What this ended up causing is, at one point he was, oh well, that's silly now, because I'm going to get a dog and it's not going to have done me much good. It ended up, I'm pretty sure he was given at least one medal. It ended up winning him a medal, and he was nominated also for the highest ranking medal that you could get in the Austrian services, but didn't win it, or wasn't awarded it. And oh no, I was just trying to do the thing correctly, but he didn't. Oh, okay, okay. Spiders. There's a lot of spiders here in the place. There's too many spiders. I can't go left because of the trap. So I think I've got to try and deal with this situation. Oh my goodness, that was a little bit lucky. But yeah, he turned into a kind of a pretty impressive officer. And I don't know really if it was suicidal, but it was. Ooh. Again, didn't see that's the bloody score on the left of the screen. Block stuff off. It really annoys me. When I was young, we didn't have scores that blocked off stuff that was on the screen, because we knew how to make video games, and now anyone can make video games, and this is what happens, quite frankly, you know? Certainly in Wittgenstein's time, video games didn't have this sort of... at no point does he ever complain about video games. Yeah, there we go. Right, but he came out the war alive. I don't know if it was before or after the war, but he also decided that being rich... In fact, before I forget, I think several members of his family committed suicide. I could be wrong, but there might have been a history of either there being a problem or some... I'm scared of... Why did I just go this way? There we go. See, that happens, and sometimes a rock flies in your face. Several members of his family committed suicide, and I think that possibly left him with more money than he started with anyway. And I don't remember if this was before or after the war, but his attitude towards having the money that he had was that he should give it all away and earn his own money. So what he actually did was give all his money away. Or certainly most of it, which again is unusual. Oh God, what am I? Sometime I think after the war, he started. That was when education really kicked off for him. I think. I don't know if it happened before the war. Could be wrong. This is what happens when I really don't know what I'm talking about. It gets really sketchy. But originally he wanted to do, I think, mathematics and engineering, and although he's very well known as a philosopher, that wasn't his first draw. And as a person with interest in engineering and making things, it's not quite related to engineering, but he actually ended up doing some architecture. And I'm pretty sure a building exists still in Austria now that was designed by him. Ooh, didn't even notice that was going to happen. But at some point, his interest in mathematics led him towards deciding, it's really hard to concentrate, led him to deciding that he was interested in the theory of mathematics, and at that point kind of getting into philosophy. And he, oh, for heaven's sake, this is just awful. Why is there a bit of rock there? There isn't. Oh, it's just the wallpaper. The thing isn't. I don't understand. I'm not going to buy your dog because I refuse to support your extortionate prices. See if I can get a bat poisoned. No. So yeah, he gets into, I guess, the theory of mathematics. And if you've ever taken much of an interest in philosophy, you'll know a number of significant philosophers were actually mathematicians as well. The classic one is Leibniz, who, along with Isaac Newton, separately invented calculus. And I think it's Leibniz's calculus notation that we use, although they both came up with the idea separately in different places. Just going to have some tea. It occurs to me this is a bit like a really bad university lecture, or just like really bad public radio, and I'm so sorry. I'm slightly sorry. I'm a bit sorry about myself. But really you've inflicted it on yourself. Anyway, Wittgenstein. A dog barking underwater. Oh, okay. I don't have much stuff, which is what's bothering me right now. Is my lack of equipment. What was the high score that I'm trying to beat? Oh, yeah. It was 100 and something. So that's all I really need to do is get that, and nothing else matters. Get up the thing. Thank you. But he ends up going to Cambridge, and at some point he runs into a philosophy teacher called, is that just some roots? That's just some roots. Called Bertrand Russell, who becomes kind of his mentor. And if you're, again, if you have any interest in philosophy, or maybe if you don't, maybe you still know the name of Bertrand Russell, because he was one of those, he was a combination of a philosopher but also a person who was quite a lucid writer generally, and he wrote about philosophy and he wrote about it for a general audience, which is a very important thing because a lot of philosophy isn't really written for a general audience. We're not actually very good, us philosophy people, at writing accessible stuff for other people to digest. But Russell was good at that. He was also a good teacher, and he also recognised that Wittgenstein, with his growing interest in, I think, logic, I guess, and logic and mathematics, and I know what I'm going to do here, and things like this, recognised that he was a clever guy. I don't quite understand what happened with Wittgenstein's education at Cambridge, but it ended up where he wrote some kind of thesis or dissertation that his lecturer, it was too complex for his lecturers to understand. And he said something to them along the lines of, don't worry, you'll never be able to fully grasp it. And they awarded him a degree, and I think he ended up staying at Cambridge, or possibly even doing some teaching there. He and Russell... God, I wonder if I remember this right. Russell at some point, I think, was in prison for being a war objector, for being a conscientious objector. And I think Don't know if that created friction between the two of them, but there was certainly some friction later when... That's a moderate tick rate. That's a faster tick rate. That's a tick rate. It's getting exciting, isn't it? It's like metal detecting. That looks like a place that goes to a thing. Okay, well, we can come back there. Let's go and get some money. But a thing that I think Wittgenstein found quite certainly very objectionable, I think as he was growing into his 20s or 30s, his moral compass was setting, was that Bertrand Russell had a child out of wedlock, which I guess in the 1920s was a big deal, or in some parts of the world still is a big deal, but that's a discussion for another time. But oh god, no, that was amazing. How did I do that? How did I'm just getting out of here because we're going to have all the gunfights in the market. Let's just go to the market. Let's go to the market and blow up a piranha because I hate piranhas. Oh. Put a bomb here so I can get a nice blue gem. Is he dead? I think he's dead. Okay, let's just leave, as they say in Dark Place. But no, there's some kind of falling out that happens. Wittgenstein at this point is starting to really develop his philosophy. I think he comes up with truth tables. I think he actually invents the idea of truth tables, which you might have done in mathematics or logic, or you might have done in computer programming. Because this is the kind of era where logical positivists, as they're called, start doing their stuff. Oh god. Which eventually, I guess, forms part of the foundation for programming and programming languages. I just wasn't ready for that. I think his dissertation formed the basis of the TLP, the Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, which was his philosophical work that was divided into statements that, that were numbered. So you have like 1.1, I can't remember, 1.2, the world is all that is the case, things like this. And later there were blue and brown books, and they were different looks at logic and what you can say about the world. And he was also very interested in language, which is how I first got interested in him. I lost interest later, but I liked his idea that any statement could be expressed logically, or you could break down language into sort of mathematics. It's never really an idea that never really took off. But yeah, language is a game. And how do you learn language? Do you learn language by showing people, by ostensive definition, or do you learn it by, because you can't tell someone we're learning language because you use language to learn. I'd better go. Bye.